A Seattle airport baggage handler one day was unloading cargo, pets from the airplane, so like cats and dogs and that kind of thing, unloading these pets from the airplane. And as he was unloading the pets from the airplane, he noticed that one of the dogs was dead. And so he really sent him into a panic. Oh no, we can't have a dead dog. You know, this poor guy, whoever owns this, is going to be really upset. And so he and his coworkers devised a plan. They told the owner that his dog had been rerouted to Phoenix. And if he came back tomorrow, he could retrieve his pet. Well, in the meantime, he and his coworkers went to the dog pound, found a dog that looked just like this man's dead dog now, and brought him back. And the next day, the man came to pick up his pet, and the baggage handler presented the dog to the owner and said, "Here you go." And the owner looked at him and said, "That's not my dog." And the baggage handler said, "Well, of course it is." And the owner's like, "No, that's not my dog. I'm telling you, that's not my dog. It doesn't even look like him." And baggage handler says, "Well, yeah, of course it's your dog. He just looks a little different because of the jet lag, you know." Well, this went back and forth a few times, and finally, the baggage handler finally asked him, like, what makes you think for certainly this is not your dog? And the man replied, "Well, because my dog was dead. I was shipping him back to be buried." Some of you saw that coming. I know you did. That's an old joke. Anyway, wouldn't it be great, maybe for some of us, that have owned pets, wouldn't it be great if some of our pets actually came back to life? Like, would you like to have one of those dogs or cats later on? Well, we know for certain that animals and human beings, for that matter, don't do that. They just don't come back to life. A couple thousand years ago, something happened that had never happened before. On a Sunday morning, a few broken-hearted people went to a tomb of a man they loved, a man who had recently died, a man they had watched the Roman soldiers crucify and beat and pierce. But they found the tomb was empty, and an angel telling them in Luke chapter 24, "He is not here, but he has risen." All of a sudden, Jesus was there in the garden talking with Mary, reassuring her, communicating with her, you don't have to go through life afraid anymore. All of a sudden, Jesus was with Peter later on, right? Reaffirming him, you don't have to go through life feeling guilty about your failures anymore. All of a sudden, Jesus was with Thomas, reassuring him, you don't have to go through life doubting anymore. Wouldn't that be great? I don't know if you came with doubts this morning. As a Christian, sometimes I even have doubts. I wish I could have been Thomas. I wish I could have been there in his shoes. Maybe some of you can identify with that. I identify with Thomas, who needed to see the wounds in Jesus' hands and feet, who needed to touch the wound in his side and see for himself that Jesus was actually alive, so that I could believe that Jesus really died and rose from the dead. Maybe some of you can relate. I would love to believe, right? Maybe some of you this morning, I would love to believe without a doubt that Jesus is who he says he is, and he did what it says he did. Without a doubt, I wish that's what we could do. The Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 14, if Christ has not been raised, then our proclamation is in vain, and so is your faith. If Christ did not raise from the dead, then what are we doing here? It's futile. But Jesus rising from the dead is the most important event in all the history of the world. It's so important, you know this, that history has been divided into BC, before the events of Jesus Christ, and then AD, after what happened to Jesus after that, right? So the apostles, they saw Jesus alive after he died and was crucified, right? And they got it. The women saw the empty tomb. Mary got to talk with Jesus in the garden face to face, and they got it. Thomas finally got to see Jesus' hands and feet, and he got it. Hundreds of people saw Jesus walking around Jerusalem. We talked about last week. For 40 days, they saw Jesus, and they got it. And you know who got it? We talked about this last week as well. The very people who put Jesus to death. They got it. And folks, it makes me wonder, do we get it? Do I get it? Really? Do I really comprehend and get the significance of what happened that day there in the garden? Without a doubt, wouldn't you like to know, without a doubt, that Jesus is alive? The Guinness Book of World Records lists a man who was the greatest, is defined as the most successful lawyer in history, Sir Lionel Luckhoo. Get this, he won 245 successive murder acquittals. That's how good he was. Knighted twice by Queen Elizabeth, she appointed him to her council to conduct court work on behalf of the crown. Well, then one day someone challenged Lionel to apply his legal skills to the evidence of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And for several years, he studied the historical record and concluded this. He said this: the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ is so powerful that it compels acceptance by proof, which leaves absolutely no room for doubt. And because of his findings, at the age of 64, Sir Lionel Luckhoo became a Christian. He knew without a doubt. Wouldn't you like to know without a doubt? Jesus is alive.